Okay. Hello, Free Footy friends, fans, families. Welcome to another live session with Free Footy. Today we are doing 4 p.m. It's fitness. We're going to have a little bit of education. We are going to learn how to squat the right way. But before we get into that, I just wanted to let everyone know that it is Easter weekend, so we will do a session tomorrow. We are going to have a dance class for Friday, so end off the week proper. And then we are going to take a break on Monday, so we won't have a session, but we will be broadcasting all of our highlights from the past 3 weeks of all of our live sessions. So definitely check that out. And then we'll also be posting some videos that we've done offline. So there'll be still lots of content over the weekend and Monday, but enjoy it with your family, with your friends, and I hope you all have a great weekend. But let's get into Thursday's 4 p.m. session. I'm so excited to have with us Jeff Woods. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, Adriana.
How are you? How are you surviving all this?
Well, I'm doing fine, but my business, owning a personal training studio, CustomFit, obviously with the state of emergency, we had to close our facility. So, it's problematic. We have 20 people on staff, and it's become, a trying time for everybody financially. It's just not our industry, but there's a lot of people obviously suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been definitely difficult. And I think that's kind of, the reason we did a lot of these live sessions is so we can kind of see familiar faces, first of all, right? And get each other motivated and encouraged to just do something, right? Because it's so easy to just fall into a slum of, I don't want to do anything. I'm at home. But so what have you been doing to keep busy? Obviously, with your gym, you've kind of put your gym into your house, or have you been working?
Well, I'm blessed in the sense that I still have to go in and clean the studio. I still have to go in, make sure that no pipes have burst, that sort of thing.
Right.
So I can still use all the equipment. So I really haven't missed a beat when it comes to my own conditioning. I'm very lucky. But I've been sending lots of emails with programming for clients, and then doing a lot of virtual training sessions as well, Adriana. So for example, like you and I are communicating now, I will set up and do like half-hour sessions with my clients specific to their need, but just do it like this. And some of them have equipment at home and others do not. So for those that don't, we just do body weight type movement patterns, similar to what we're going to learn today with the squat.
Yeah, which I'm so excited about. So let's get to it. We are learning the squat.
Yes.
Tell us more.
Well, it seems like the squat could be probably the most important exercise pattern or movement pattern in all of strength training. And the reason I say that is that it forces the knees, the hip, and your ankle joints to work in like a unified manner, work all together. And when we work those joint sites, we work all the muscles that are associated with those joints. Those muscles, if we keep them strong over our lifetime, it improves our balance. When we have better balance, we have a less risk of a falling injury. When we have the confidence in our movement, it promotes good physical literacy, or I get confidence in movement, I guess, for our younger viewers that don't know what physical literacy is. But when you have that kind of confidence, it also improves your athletic performance. So that's kind of important as a young soccer player or whatever sport you choose to engage in. Chances are you're going to be a lot better off if you're strong and through this area. The other thing too, and I know for 8 and 12-year-olds that are playing soccer, they're not thinking ahead to when they're 40, 50, and 60 years of age. But if you can maintain a good level of strength as you age, you'll probably end up being more self-sufficient and be less reliant on other people to look after you as you get a little older. So that's why the squat's important.
Well, I wanted to touch on the point of like how 8 to 12-year-olds aren't focusing on that. So that's my personal experience. I actually never got into like proper fitness training as an athlete until I was like maybe 13, 14. And I found that I already had bad habits, and breaking those bad habits takes a lot more effort than to learning it the right way the first time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Now here, you'll find this very interesting then, based on your comment. It takes somewhere around 300 repetitions to get some sort of muscle memory, like to learn a pattern. If you have to change that biomechanical pattern, if you have to change the way you do it after you've learned, it takes about 3,000 additional repetitions to change that motor learned behavior. So it's a lot harder to redo it. So learning it right out of the gate makes good sense.
Perfect. Yeah, that's crazy. 300 to learn something new the right way, and then 3,000 to break a habit and relearn something. Yeah, I'll take 300 repetitions and get great at something there. That's great. I like that.
Piece of cake if you can do it. Better to do it the right way.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so are you going to show us kind of the movement of the squat first? Or?
Yeah, so here's what I'm thinking we'll do, Adriana. We're going to start with how we should be in a static position, how we should set up first. And then once we're in that good setup, then we'll look at something that's dynamic and we'll actually do some squats. So the first thing that we want to do is just have a nice neutral, ready, athletic position, okay? So the neutral, ready, athletic position is one where your knees are a little bit bent. You're standing fairly tall, but there's a little bit of a bend in your hips. And if you came up to me after I take my ready athletic position and you give me a push, it should be pretty hard for you, Adriana, to push me over because I'm ready. So the shoulders are back. I've got a little bit of an extension in my lower back right here. There's a natural S curve there anyway. My feet are a little bit wider than shoulders, and I've got my feet turned out about 20 degrees. My shoulders are back, and my visual focus when I'm squatting is always up. I'm always looking at the horizon. If I'm looking down when I squat, chances are when I go into the squat, I'm going to forward flex in the hip. My posture's not going to be very good, and I'm going to end up bending over. So it's not conducive to good form. So those are our key points. Now, the one other thing I might talk to you about after you've mastered the ready position, it's about how we distribute the weight over top of our feet. I don't know if you can see my feet, but I don't have running shoes on. And I have them off for a reason. We have a lot of stability built into the running shoes. So if we can learn how to squat in bare feet, where the muscles on the bottom of our feet, there's like nerve endings there. So it's called proprioception. We improve our balance by not relying on the running shoes, where there's feedback going from our feet and the nerve endings to our brain to improve our balance. So we're sort of striving for that. Now, I'm going to go get a running shoe, and we're going to use this as a visual, Adriana, so I can show you where your weight should be distributed on the bottom of your feet, okay? So I took the liberty of putting these little red dots on the bottom of the running shoe. And where the dot is on the heel and on the forefoot, it's kind of a triangle. That's where your weight should be distributed. We want to keep weight away from being up here on the front of your foot. And when that happens, typically when we're doing a squat, the heels come up off the ground. We don't want that. So try to imagine weight distribution on the balls of the feet at the front and in the middle of the heel when we take that static stance.
Tool. That's a good visual tool.
I'm all about the visual, Adriana.
Yeah. And like you can feel it. Like I took off my socks and I'm on the ground here, and you can feel those 3 points very well, right?
Yeah. So here's another thing too. You ask great questions. You've done this before. So another thing too, when we're in this ready athletic position and we're trying to get a sense of how stable we are, if you like splay your hands out, make your hands go wide, like web them out like that, your feet automatically sort of do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's a good sort of visual, or maybe for somebody who's new to squatting, have your hands here and fan your hands out. and then your feet will automatically sort of do the same thing. Okay.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah. All right. So then now we're kind of set. We've got our static position. So now we want to learn how to squat, to actually move. So when we do that, a good reference is to think about, okay, if I had to squat or sit down to a chair, that's what we want our young athlete to do. Is imagine you're going to sit to a chair, and then you're just going to stand up tall again, come back up to that ready athletic position.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. You can have your hands out front for balance to start, and just go down slow. And what you're trying to do, Adriana, right now, your bum is you're at chair height, but you're trying to get, if you can, and you can do it in a balanced manner, is drop your hip below your knee. So it should look like this if we can go through a nice full range of motion. Like you should be able to sit down there. Do you think you could do that?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then you would just come back up to your starting position.
I feel my heels starting to lift up, so that's why I'm like trying.
Right.
No.
No, it's good, and this is very common. So when I'm just watching you right now, I can see that, you know, it's kind of foreign. It's new to go that deep. Now, yeah. If a young athlete or any of our parents are watching right now, if they had, you know, a knee problem and it hurt to go down as deep as I was going, then obviously you should not do that. Now, there may be other inhibiting factors that stop one's range of motion, and it could be tightness in the lower back, it could be tight calf muscles, it could be tight in the shin, but in a lot of cases, it's just a misunderstanding about what we're supposed to do mechanically. Yeah. So here's what I'd like to try. I'd like to try and do just 10 repetitions, just with my body weight, with my hands out in front, and taking all the things we just talked about into account. Maybe have you follow along for the 10 reps, and let's just see how you feel at the end of the 10.
Okay.
And your goal again is to try and drop your hip down below your knee, and then just control your body though through the repetition. So you should work to a 4 count down and a 4 count up.
Okay.
Okay, and then beyond that, we're trying to control our skeletal structure. We don't want to be, you know, loosey-goosey. We want to look like we're in control of our body.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna adjust this a little bit better so you can see me. Perfect.
So we're gonna do this together.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna have the hands out in front. Feet are pointing out about 20 degrees, a little bit wider than shoulder. I'm focused on something away in the horizon. Shoulders are back. And now I'm just gonna drop, so I'm sitting on a really low chair. Get your bum nice and low. Perfect, and then back up. It's also understood that you should feel like your knee is kind of tracking out over top of your toes. We don't want the knees to track to the midline. We don't want them to fall to the middle of the body.
Yeah.
We want to keep them going out over top of the toes that way. That's better. Okay, we're gonna do 6 together. Ready?
Okay, let's go.
Okay. 1, 2, and try and keep your head up, Adriana, if you can.
Right.
So there you go. That's better. You're the only person I've ever seen smile while doing squats.
What?
Okay, we're gonna just do 2 more. Try and get down there nice and deep. That's it. 1 more. That looks pretty good. So I would say just watching you.
I will say this about my form. So there's something I've noticed about when I do the squats, and you were talking about being tight in your lower back or your calves or whatever it is, but I'll show you a little bit because I'm fighting it right now because I want perfect posture for everyone.
Okay.
But I'm fighting it a little bit, and it's with so you'll notice, all right, let's just go down. you'll notice that one side goes out.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Yeah, I see that. So here's what I would say to that. Are you right side dominant? Like, would you kick a soccer ball with your right hip?
Yeah.
Okay, so in some cases, we see this a lot when we evaluate athletes and we're checking their biomechanics. We call that like you're favoring your right hip. So typically that's the dominant side for most athletes. And on the left side, it might be probable that you're measurably weaker, or maybe you have some sort of inflammation or arthritic condition, maybe some ongoing pain. I don't know, I'm guessing here, but yeah. there would be a muscular imbalance might be the issue.
Okay. And like, I'm just fighting it. So how can I fix that? Or should I just, when I'm doing my squat, I just got to focus that, because see, this is me now focusing, right? And you can immediately see this like.
So here's what we should do. So in some cases, again, if you were to go see a physiotherapist, a personal trainer, we'd be looking to identify muscular imbalances. So that professional would then give you some supplementary movement patterns to help strengthen those weak links.
Okay.
Part of the rehabilitation process to bring parity from right to left side is that the athlete just being aware of the fact that there is a little favoritism going on and just consciously trying to load up both hips, both knees, both ankles, trying to consciously load them up equally is also a part of the process. And then maybe doing some single limb work as well. So maybe having you squat to a chair, for example, on the right side only, on the left side only, and just maybe working on the downward face of the repetition. But again, it's really hard to prescribe this without doing a full-blown evaluation. And if people can do that, that would be the best place to start. And then the movement is specific to the athlete or the individual's need.
Right. Okay, cool. I've noticed it. I've noticed that I'm not the only one that's done it. I know a few other athletes that have like their thing comes out too. And I was just like, I don't know. The way you explained it was perfect. I am right-footed. I am dominant on my right side. I definitely favor it all the time. So that could be definitely a reason for it. Just being conscious about it, which I totally was when we were doing our 10. I was like, don't show him bad form. Great. But that was because I've seen myself in a mirror, right? It's good to like watch your form always when you're doing it. So that was perfect. Awesome.
Good.
Okay.
Now, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a soccer ball?
I do.
Do you have it handy?
Yes. I'll go grab it.
Okay, so grab it and then come back. We're gonna learn another squat.
Okay,
using
perfect.
a soccer ball.
Awesome. Perfect. Here we go.
Okay. So here's my soccer ball, and we're still going to do basically the same squat, but we're going to bring the soccer ball into play here, where we're going to hold the soccer ball close to our body. We're going to put it on our chest, right on the sternum. The sternum is the bone that runs down the middle of our body. Now, when we're in a gym setting and we use a dumbbell, or we put a little bit of weight on the front side of the body, and the weight could be anything. It could be the soccer ball, it could be a dumbbell, whatever you've got around the house. But this counterbalance weight on the front side of the spine, when we go down into the squat, it helps to counterbalance our bum. So like in your case, for example, where you are a little bit inhibited going down very deep, if you had a slightly heavier load on the front side of your body, chances are the athlete can sometimes drop a little bit deeper into the pocket to counterbalance trunk weight.
That's the trick. Okay, great.
Okay, so with that, just imagine that we've got the ball, and just imagine too, like when I say goblet squat, a nice visual. If you had a big goblet filled with wine or something, I mean, that would be a nice visual cue to remember what you're doing. But you're going to put the ball right on your chest, and then keep your elbows nice and tight underneath so that you get your elbows between your leg when you drop into the squat. So now this is goblet squat, with the soccer ball looks like this. And right down. That's a little bit better, and then back up.
Okay.
That's better. Your range of motion is already improved a few degrees, Adriana.
That's awesome.
Better. And if you had a 10 or 12 pound dumbbell at home,
yeah,
and you put that in place of the soccer ball on the next set, I think you'd find your hips dropping down below your knee, and I think you'd be into a better position with a much fuller range of motion.
Dang it. I don't have a dumbbell to try, but I could pick up my cat. He's about 50 pounds.
I saw your cat wandering around ever so eloquently.
To play. Oh,
Here,
that's
just do one more for me. Turn to the side. Let me just see where your hip goes. Here, that's good. You're at a perfect 90-degree angle. That's so much better now that you're a little bit warmer than the first repetition that you did. That looks wonderful.
perfect. So I have a question in regards to my feet. So I know you were saying, being shoulder width a little bit farther than shoulder width apart.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make the squat easier if you go wider, or are you not doing yourself a favor?
Well, you will make it easier to a point. And here is the important thing to understand. If you go too wide, you're going to reduce your range of motion. It'll be very limited. So that's why when we talk about the cue for width, it's typically 1 foot width wider than your shoulder joint.
Okay.
Okay. And the other thing that is key in this conversation, it's where your foot or your ankle is placed. Like, you want to do what we call externally rotating. So if my hand represents my foot, you want to turn it out about 15 to 20 degrees.
So maybe instead of, yeah, that's kind of not what I'm doing. I guess that's not what I was really doing. Maybe that.
So here's the other thing that's kind of interesting here. So if you're in a neutral position and your feet are just going straight ahead, that sort of closes down the hip and it inhibits the range of motion. Turn the feet out a little bit, it opens up the hip and allows for a freer range of motion. And typically people do a much better job at a full range of motion with their feet turned out just a little bit, like I say, 15 to 20 degrees.
Okay, that's perfect. That was good. Okay,
Hey.
I love this ball idea. So and you were saying, like, if you get a little bit heavier, because this is only a couple pounds,
Yeah.
you get something a little bit heavier, you'd probably be able to drop a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And even too, like, I get a question a lot, Adriana, about, okay, is it okay for my 8-year-old or 10-year-old or 12-year-old to do strength training? Because they're concerned about growth plates and damage. Now, so let's talk about that for a second. If we're talking about maximal effort strength training, that is forbidden for that age demographic. It's too much. And what we're trying to instill in our young athletes, weight training is fine, but it comes in the form of unstructured play and just moving around and putting forces on your body, jumping, running, throwing, all of that. Now, traditional weight training can certainly be appropriate if the goal is muscular endurance, where you're not working to a maximal effort, and the young athlete can maintain postural control always. Should never be working heavy enough where they lose postural control.
Okay.
The other thing that would be important in the conversation is that you have to analyze the psychological maturity of each young athlete. I've seen some 12-year-olds that are very mature for their age and they're focused young athletes, and others that are not. They cannot stay committed to it, and they don't maintain good sort of form value, and obviously they could be hurt. So that assessment has to take place before we sort of engage a young one in any sort of strength training.
Okay. And like, a good place to start is always just using your body weight. Get your form down, get that good, and then you can slowly incorporate weight.
Absolutely. And
don't lose that posture form.
Right. And the other thing too, if parents and coaches are looking for a good resource, it's a Canadian initiative. It's called the long-term athlete development model. Yep. Have you heard of it before?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful model. It's a 7-stage model, and it gives insight to the appropriate introduction to various activities relative to age and the maturity of the young athlete. And the goal with this is that we don't introduce something prematurely where a young athlete gets turned off of sport and then potentially never comes back to it. And then they're skewed. They don't want to do it in their adult life. And the other thing, if we do this properly, introduce them to activities, and it does become a lifestyle habit, they in turn become mentors to coach other young athletes and people to be active as they get older. So
absolutely. There is a good life cycle to all of this.
yeah,
right? Definitely. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
So do you have any more questions?
I don't. I was hoping that we'd get into another set. I'm feeling good. I wanna get deeper and keep improving. So
okay, so now I've got one other squat.
Okay.
This squat is called the overhead squat. So you can do it with like just having your hands, holding your hands overhead.
Okay.
Or we can grab a broomstick or a hockey stick or anything that's sort of cylinder type shape and linear. So I don't know if you have something.
Oh, I don't have anything. I'm just gonna use my hands. I could grab my broom, but it's okay. Yeah. I don't want any bunnies going into my hair.
So,
oh, you get a hockey stick. Awesome.
I keep a hockey stick in my living room just in case there's trouble. So with the overhead squat, so like again, if you could have your hands up overhead, and the value in doing an overhead squat where our hands are up over top of our head, or if I've got this hockey stick,
yeah,
and it's up over top of my head, the value in this is that in that position, all the muscle systems and the connective tissues around my shoulders, around my hips, my knees, and my ankles, as I go down through the squat, I'm putting an added tension or increasing the range of motion throughout the kinetic chain. And all that means is that I'm putting an added stress in terms of range of motion and functional flexibility training. I'm stretching them out just a little bit further than I would where if I had my hands just close to my body.
Right. And this is going to require a little bit more balance now. Absolutely,
it is. Okay. So in everything that we've looked at today, Adriana, this particular movement pattern with the position over the head is probably the most complex.
Okay.
But if our young athletes have a little broomstick or even just putting their hands up. Yeah. So can you see me okay?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, the line with the stick is a little bit behind my ears. If I drew a line over top of my head, we just don't want it like down here. We want to keep that stick up directly over top of our head. And then head up, looking on the horizon, and then down into that squat again.
Oh yeah, this is a good
now,
one.
Can you put your hands more directly over your head? Yes, now try.
My heel starts lifting off. Okay, I'm gonna just quickly grab my broomstick.
Okay. You're leaving me alone to talk to the masses.
Because I feel like with something in your hand, it forces you to not cheat.
Yeah, it does. Now here's the other thing too. So that broomstick is perfect. So imagine too, when you're going to take a hand position that's 2 or 3 hand widths wider than your shoulder. Okay. And it's going to feel like when you have your hand position, you're actually trying to separate, like you're putting outward stress on your hands. Like you're trying to lengthen that broomstick. You're not, but that's what it should feel like when you're going down into the squat. And let your body fall forward a little bit more too, Adrienne. I think you're trying to stay too erect or too straight in your spine. And this is a common problem for a lot of people. They try to stay too straight. Like there is supposed to be what we call a forward flexion, a little bit, so that you can balance your trunk weight. If you're trying to stay too straight, like it's impossible to go like too deep. So if you have to go forward a couple of degrees, do that. That's okay.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna do 5, okay?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Drop down. That's better. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the broomstick fell a little bit forward that time.
I try to go deeper.
Perfect. That's not too bad.
I'm just gonna go one more time here.
Okay. That's better.
Yeah. This is a difficult one, but here, like now that the stick is dropping, it's like I've gone
Yeah. So here, this brings up an interesting sort of situation. Obviously, this is learned practice behavior with consistency and getting the right information on form. This will obviously improve. Now, if you never did an overhead squat in your life, Adriana, this is not the end of the world. The one thing that I would say is that when we had that soccer ball in front of our body, and we were holding it doing the goblet squat, that is the one squatting technique I would say that 99% of people can do. And when they get a little bit of load on the front side of their body, their form and range of motion, everything dramatically improves. And it's safe, and it will serve you well throughout a lifetime, progressing the weight loads along in that particular mechanical setting than maybe the other two.
Absolutely. So I want to just quick, you mentioned this already about your heels. If my heels start coming up, that's like a sign of, okay, get back up or rise a little bit higher, get your heel back down and then try again. Or it's like, it's okay if your heel, is there a little bit of...
I would say it's not okay for your heel to come off the ground. So you better look at a couple of things. This is where, again, your physiotherapist, qualified personal trainer, like getting an assessment done to make sure you're working on the right things when it comes to corrective movement. Because for the layperson, they might just continue to perform and then they might end up hurt. But again, so you have to look at foot placement, make sure you're the right distance. And if you are tight in your calf muscles or maybe on the muscles in the front of the shin, you may have to you can put a piece of like plywood down on the ground, okay, which is about 3/4 of an inch thick.
Okay.
And you just put it where your heels are. So you then elevate your heels with the plywood underneath your heels.
Okay, yeah.
And then you go and do your squat, and it will allow you to stay in a better position. So that is one. Yeah. So I don't know if you have anything like that around, or even sometimes.
I was just thinking, like, I don't. Well, I probably could find something if I went looking, but I won't do that now. But just having something that elevates my heels don't go up a lot. It's honestly, it feels like it's just a little bit that goes up. Yeah. So if I even just put something that's 1/2 inch even.
Yeah, it would a world of difference. And even too, like, I don't know if you've got, I mean, I hate to sort of have someone use their books, but if you had like a skinny hardcover book or something that you don't, I
have some textbooks from university.
Yeah, and again, you have to be cautious not to use something that's going to promote instability. We don't want you to have an accident, like the book might slip. Maybe that's not a good idea, but anything that's stable, that's a 1/2 inch or thereabouts, just to elevate those heels a bit, and then just get into your good neutral, ready athletic positions that we talked about, but just elevate those heels, and typically your goals. It will make a world of difference.
That's awesome. Awesome. Great information. Okay. Can we, do you have one more exercise? I think that was the last one.
That was the last one as far as the squatting goes. I was going to give you one more insight just on guidelines for, our young viewers. I mean, 60 minutes a day of physical activity, unstructured physical activity. You can do that 7 days a week. The heart rate values can vary a bit, so running around, playing tag, just having fun. If that's with mom and dad and it's unstructured, you're kicking a soccer ball around, and just do that type of activity. You can do that all the time. Now, if you are going to strength train, if your young athlete is getting qualified professional information and they're on some sort of strength training program of some sort, that would only be 2 or 3 times a week. on alternate days. We couldn't do that type of work every day because the body needs a little bit of recovery time so that we can adapt the stress, and then the young athlete actually gets stronger. If you're trying to strength train every day, there's no recovery built into that. So that wouldn't be a good idea. And I would also encourage, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think a lot of people don't understand that recovery is part of the muscle development.
Absolutely. That's probably, it's the most important part. You have to stimulate and then allow it to rest so you actually adapt.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. So 15 minutes, go get your heart rate up, go play around, do some kind of physical activity. And then if you're going to go into any kind of strength training, 2-3 times a week should be enough. And
should be more than enough.
And it's not 2-3 times a week, back to back to back. Please let some recovery rest between each session.
Perfect.
Right? Yeah. So that's great insight for everyone that's at home that wants to build a little bit more muscle, right? So when we get on the pitch, we're ready to go. That's awesome. So can we review kind of the tips from getting into your start position, what to look for, and then when you're doing the actual squat? Can we review all that again?
Yep. So the first thing in our static position, our start position, is what we call the neutral, ready, athletic position. So first, we'll start at the ground first. Our feet, our ankles are going to be one width wider than our shoulders. We're going to turn our toes out about 20 to 30 degrees. Okay. Then we're going to have a little bend in our knees, a little bit of a bend or a flex in our hip. Our shoulders are back. We're going to feel our shoulder blades go back a little bit. And then visually, we're going to focus somewhere on the horizon. We're going to try and keep our head up and focused on something. And we don't want to look down. That's the important part. So then we'll just pretend we're holding that soccer ball or goblet squat. We can do what we call a prayer squat. So just bring your hands into the prayer position, nice and close on your sternum. And then when you're going down into the squat, you're thinking about sort of like trying to find the chair with your bum. You're kind of sticking your chair back toward, or your bum back towards the chair. Adriana, that's your best squat right there. That looks great.
Yay, good.
And then you're just going to come back up to neutral. And again, you're trying to do this in a way that is under control, 4 count cadence down, 4 count cadence up. Yeah. Okay, so let's just do 3 of those just to practice our technique and good body control. And then get your elbows in a little closer so you can get them between your legs as you go down. That's right.
Okay.
Better. Your range of motion is far better. So that's basically our biomechanical, patterning for the squat. And if you were doing squats and you were doing with the squat with a little bit of weight, an entry level program would have the athlete do 3 sets, 10 repetitions. You're going to take 60 to 90 seconds of rest in between, or as much time as the athlete needs, where they feel they could safely do another set without compromising postural control. That would be the key. Moving too quickly, where you don't get the rest, again, we can sometimes have this instability that leads to an injury. We want the athletes to be in control all the time when they're strength training. And even though it's just body weight, it's a form of strength training.
For sure. I like that you included the 4 count, because I feel like that makes it a lot more beneficial, where I'm sure you've seen some athletes, and like I've seen athletes where it's like, okay, 10 squats, and it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like, and they're like, yeah, I could do 10 squats, and it's, you watch it and you're like, but I like the 4 count because you're really focusing on using all the right muscles when you're going down. Is that?
It's perfect. Now, here's what you just brought up, another really great point. So when an athlete becomes more experienced, and as the athlete gets a little bit older and they are able to control their body, there is a progression in how fast we do a repetition. So
Okay.
at the entry level, doing the 4 count up, 4 count down, that would be a good, safe speed of repetition to start at. Now, when we get a little bit older, we've had years of experience, and the athlete is training before a competitive part of the year, they may progress through their off-season training where before they go to training camp and might be working to a 2-2 count or a 1-1 count. So they're moving a lot quicker on purpose, because when they get into their sport, they have to react more quickly. They have to be explosive. They have to respond to unforeseen sort of circumstance. So that type of increase in speed facilitates a very sport-specific nuance.
Okay, so it's not bad, or it's not gonna, it's not, I guess it's okay to go as fast. It's just the posture. As long as your posture.
Well, let's back up a step. You have to be ready to work fast. So, I mean, it might take a year of training just doing the 4-4 count. And again, there's got to be some consistency so that the athlete develops good control. So it might take a couple of years to get to that point when we're talking about like a young athlete. But if we're talking about an older athlete, 20, 23, seasoned resistance athlete, been working off-season training programs for a few years, the progression in their off-season would have them go from slow repetition speed to faster repetition speed before competition. So it wouldn't be something that we could have a young athlete do right out of the chute.
Okay, that was the question that I was going for. There has to be that progression to get there. Awesome. Super, super awesome. I really enjoyed that session. Like I told you, I need to perfect my squat, as you've seen. I'd love to get deeper, but I will work on it. I'm working on it. I think all the tips were awesome. I hope everyone enjoyed that. If you have any questions for Jeff about the squat or anything else, Jeff, can we come and ask you?
Yes, come. You can reach me on Twitter at Jeff Woods Fit. Same on Instagram. I'm there. On Facebook by the same name. And if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to respond. And that's jeffwoodsfit@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, so much for doing this for us. I think that was fantastic. I'm excited to get practicing. I think we should challenge everyone at home to do 10 great squats.
I totally agree. 10 good squats in a goblet style.
Yeah, right. Yes, that one actually I really enjoyed. The one with the broom over my head, I think I'm not there yet. I'm gonna do this one a few times and then maybe I'll get a broom over my head. But that was perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining in on our live session. Like I mentioned earlier today, we are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be doing a dance. We're going to end off the week with some dance sessions, so it'll be fun. And then enjoy the long weekend. And Monday, we won't have a live session, but we will be posting highlights from our past shows, and we'll be posting some offline recordings we did. So Jeff, enjoy your long weekend. I hope it's fantastic. I hope we have good weather. I think it's supposed to snow. I don't know if I should have said that out loud, but regardless, if it snows, I'm going outside and hanging out in some snow with my dogs. So I hope you have a great long weekend, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the week. Okay, I will talk to you all soon. Bye.